Harihi Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryan Karavavai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachitananda Vigraha Anadi Radhi Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam Chintamani Prakara Sadma Sukalpa Vriksha Laksha Viteshu Surabhira Vipalayantam Lakshmi Sahasra Satasambrama Sevyamanam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Venum Kvanantam Aravinda Dalaya Taksham Barahavatam Samasita Buddha Sundarangam Kandarpakoti Kamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Alula Chandra Kalasadvanamalya Vamshi Ratna Gadam Pranayakeli Kalavilasam Shyamam Tribanga Lalitam Niyata Prakasham Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasya Sakalendriya Vritimanti Pasyanti Panti Kalayanti Chiram Jaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadujvala Vigrahasya Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayauvanam Cha Vedeshu Durlabam Adurlabam Atma Bhaktau Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Pantastu Koti Satavatsara Sampragamyo Vayo Ratapi Manaso Munipungavanam Sopyasti Yat Prapadasinya Vicintya Tattve Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ekopya Saura Chaitum Jagadanda Kotim Yachaktirasti Jagadanda Chayayananta Andantarasta Paramanu Chayantarastam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yad Bhava Bhavita Diyo Manujastataiva Samprapya Rupa Mahima Sanayana Bhusha Shuktaryameva Nigama Pratitastu Vanti Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitabhis Tabirya Eva Nicharupataya Kalabhi Goloka Eva Nivasatya Kilatma Bhuto Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shyama Sundaram Achintya Gunasvarupam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ramadimurti Shukalani Yamena Tishtan Nanavatara Makarodbhuvaneshu Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavad Paramapumanyo Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yasya Prabha Prabhavato Jagadanda Koti Kotishvashesha Vasudadi Vibhuti Binam Tad Brahma Nishkalamanantam Ashesha Bhutam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Maya hi yasya jagadanda shatani sute Traigunya tadvishaya veda vitayamana Sattva valambi parasattvam vishuddha sattvam Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Ananda chinmaya rasatmataya manasu Yat praninam pratipalam smaratam upetya Lilaitena bhuvanani jayati ajashram Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Golokanam nijadam nitale chatasya Devi mahesha haridama suteshu teshu Te prabhava nichaya vihitascha yena Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Srishti sthiti pralaya sadhana shakti reka Chayeva yasya bhuvanani vibhati durga Ichhanurupam api yasya chachishtate sa Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Kshiram yatadari vikara vishesha yoga Sanjayate nahi tata pritakasti heto Yasambhutam api tata samupaiti karyat Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Deeparchideva hidasantarama bhupetya Deepayate vivrita hetu samana dharma Yastadrikeva hicha vishnutaya vivati Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Yakaranarnava jale bhajati sma yoga Nidram ananta jagadanda saroma kupa Adara shaktim avalambya param svamurtim Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Yasyai kanishvasita kala matavalambya Jivanti loma vilaja jagadandanata Vishnur mahansa ikhayasya kala vishesho Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Basvanyatasma sakaleshu nijeshu teja Sviyam kiyat prakatayatyapi tattva tatra Brahmaya esha jagadanda vidhana karta Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Yat padapala vayugam vinidaya kumbha Dvandve pranama samaye saganadiraja Vignam vihantum alamasya jagatrayasya Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Agnir mahi gananamambu maruddishascha Kalastatatma manasiti jagatrayani Yasmad bhavanti vibhavanti vishanti yamcha Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Yachakshuresha savita sakala grahanam Raja samasta suramurti rashesha teja Yasyagyaya brahmati sambrita kala chakro Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Dharmo tapapa nichaya shrutayastapamsi Brahmadikita patagavadayascha jiva Yadatamatra vibhava prakata prabhava Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Yastvendra gopa matavendra mahosva karma Bandhanurupa palabhajanam atanoti Karmani nirdahati kintu cha bhakti bhajam Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Yam krodha kama sahaja pranayadi bhiti Vatsalya moha guru gaurava sevya bhavai Sanchintya tasya sadrishim tanumapurete Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Shriya Kanta Kanta Parama Purusha Kalpataravo Druma Bhumischinta Mani Ganamai Toyam Amritam Kataganam natyam gamanam api vamshi priya saki Chittanandam jyoti param api tat ashvadyam api cha Sayatra kshirabdi shavati surabhibhyascha sumahan Ime shardakyo va vrajati nahi yatrapi samaya Vajashveta dvipam tamahamiha golokamitiyam Vidantaste shantakshiti viralachara katipaye. Shri Brahma Samhita ki jai. So we continue with verses 32 to 35, Krishna's unrivaled power. So we started with the prayers offered by Brahma. And in the beginning we said he immediately concentrated on the sweetness of the Lord. And now he is describing the amazing powers, amazing opulence of the Lord. Brahma has so far mentioned Krishna's 4 unique personal characteristics, wholly absent in his subsequent manifestations, Narayana, Shiva, and the Purusha avatars, not to speak of the Jivas. So these 4 were Rupa Madhurya, Lila Madhurya, Bhakta Madhurya, and Venu Madhurya. He's playing very sweetly on his flute. His pastimes with his devotees are amazing. His devotees are amazing. And his form, Rupa Madhurya, is also amazing. So those are not present in the lower manifestations as Narayana, Shiva, or the Purusha avatars. That means Vishnus. Now Brahma explains the influence of Sri Krishna's inconceivable potency and devokes his identity as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the omnipotent, omniscient source of all creation. Not only Krishna's form partakes of this transcendental nature, but also Krishna's abode and pastime arena. The spiritual world will be shown to be the substance, the original root principle, and the material world is unsubstantial shadow. So text 32. Angani yasya sakalendriya vriti manti pasyanti panti kalayanti chiram jaganti ananda chinmaya sadujvala vigrahasya govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. The indivisibility of Krishna's body. I worship the Supreme Lord Govinda, whose individual limbs, possessing the functions of all the senses, are forever creating by seeing, maintaining, and annihilating the worlds. Because those attractive limbs are made of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. Therefore, in this verse, beginning Angani Yasya, any doubts concerning Krishna's being an ordinary cowherd boy are addressed. Now this is the commentary of Jiva Goswami. Having described 2 types of pastimes, in this verse Brahma speaks of the excellent powers produced by Govinda's most inconceivable energy. 4 verses describe this. In these verses, the powers of his form are described. His hand can see and his eye can protect. And similarly, other limbs have the power to accomplish the actions of other limbs. Thus it is said, Sarvata Pani Padam Tat Sarvato Kshishiro Mukham. Everywhere are his hands and feet, and everywhere are his eyes, head, and mouth. Shvetashvatara Upanishad 3.16 and Bhagavad Gita 13.14. The verse describes how he can use his limbs interchangeably in seeing, creating, protecting, and creating universes. However, he can also use his limbs spontaneously in a multitude of his pastimes. The cause of this particular quality of his form is explained. His form is filled with bliss and knowledge. Dig Darshani Tika 532. So, the amazing quality of the body of Krishna is that each and every of his senses can perform the activities of the other senses. That's why it is said that, it was already described in the beginning, he creates the material world just by seeing. By glancing the material energy, the whole material world is created. That's amazing. Like, can you create a house just by looking at the materials? It's not possible. We have to use our physical working senses, like the legs to walk and the hands to move the materials from one place to the other and to combine them, and then maybe the house will appear. But the senses of Krishna are so amazing, his limbs are so amazing, they can create the functions of all other senses. Like in our body, mainly the senses are divided in two categories, Gyanendriya and Karmendriya. The working senses and knowledge gathering senses. For Krishna it doesn't matter. He can do everything with each and every of his senses. That's the amazing form of Krishna. And it is described because his form is such Itananda. That's why it's so powerful. It's a spiritual transcendental form. So any doubts that Krishna is just an ordinary cow boy are being dispelled here, removed. The interchangeability and equivalence of Krishna's various limbs has some interesting and wonderful implications. Firstly, it is another reason that mundane sex life bears no resemblance to the Lord's transcendental procreative pastimes. Srila Prabhupada states, we should not understand the process of impregnation by the personality of Godhead in terms of our conception of sex. The omnipotent Lord can impregnate just by his eyes. And therefore he is called all-potent. Srimad Bhagavatam 3.5.26 purport. So we should not misuse that creation that Krishna originates. It's like material activity of sex. Krishna just looks at material nature and everything is created.
Something similar in Christianity. The Mother Mary, she became pregnant not by material ways, but you can say by spiritual ways, by the same thing, the same process of spiritual pastime.
Yes.
So the holiness, the saintliness of spiritual pastimes can be preserved in this way. They are not degraded to the mundane realm.
Well, even sometimes we can see very great personalities in this world, like when Kunti was serving very nicely Durvasa Muni, and Durvasa Muni gave her a special mantra. With this mantra she could invoke the appearance of every great personality, every demigod. So she tries the mantra for the sun god, and the sun god appeared. And she said, oh, sorry, that was a mistake. I just wanted to try if the mantra is working, but actually I don't want anything from you. And he said, okay, that's very nice, but still we demigods, we don't appear just without anything. So now that I have appeared here, I have to give you something, and I'll give you a son. But don't worry, I'll do it in such a way that you remain virgin. So nobody will criticize you that actually without getting married, you already have a child. So even those great personalities in the material world can do something.
Yeah, for the demigods there are different rules. The human rules don't apply to them.
Yes. Moreover, no part of Krishna's body is superior to any other part. Thus, the two lotus feet of the personality of Godhead are a plenary representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and worshipping the lotus feet immediately places the worshipper in the ocean of transcendental bliss. Srimad Bhagavatam 11.534 purport. So there is no difference, like worshipping the lotus feet of the Lord is just like you are worshipping His lotus face.
Yeah.
Devotees, they should not differentiate between different parts of the body of Krishna. And in His body, we don't have inferior and superior parts. They are all on the same spiritual platform. And also sometimes it is said that actually devotees, these are they are representing the lotus feet of the Lord. So worshipping the lotus feet of the Lord, it can be taken in the sense that you worship the devotees of the Lord. This is what gives him the greatest pleasure. Mad Bhakta Puja Abhyadika. The perfect service of the Lord starts with worshipping His devotees. Or in other words, the Lord is more happy when He sees His devotees are worshipped than if someone is worshipping Him directly. This capacity also accords the Lord's considerable power of surveillance over His creation. We have quote from purport. This verse indicates not only that the Lord can perform any bodily function with any of His limbs, but also that He can see through the eyes of His Vishnu expansions, or indeed through the eyes of any living entity, and similarly that He can hear through the ears of any Vishnu or Jiva expansion. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:14-2 purport. Wow, that's amazing statement, huh? So the Lord, He can use not just His senses, but all the senses of all Vishnu expansions and Jiva expansions are His senses. He can use them whenever
because
He likes.
Hrishikesh,
Hrishikesh, the master.
He's the master of the senses, so our senses are His. He has given these senses to us for a purpose, to use them in His service. But He can take them away at any moment if He wants to.
Or use them.
Or use them. But this will be great if He uses our senses for...
Yes.
Then He can use our intelligence, our mind, our gross body for devotional service. He can empower us. Isn't this what we praying for every day?
One devotee one time he was telling me an interesting story. He was in a strange situation, like suddenly a man attacked him. And he said, and he did it quite fast, but suddenly somehow I saw him coming towards me on a very slow motion. So actually I had so much time to react. And then I was just inside me chanting the names of Narasimhadev, Narasimhadev, Narasimhadev. And suddenly like Narasimhadev took over the control of my body. And my body, like I never did like martial arts or all kinds of things. And suddenly my body started like moving in some amazing way. And I punched the guy. And this guy fell down. So I think it's like a kind of example how Krishna actually can work through the senses of the body of the Jivas and the Vishnu avatars also. And despite the fact all his limbs are functionally equivalent, Krishna restrains himself from indulging in the myriad creative possibilities. This represents and acts somewhat normal around his friends. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur points out that although the Lord can perform any function with any one of his senses, in his transcendental pastimes as Sri Krishna, he generally sees with his eyes, touches with his hands, hears with his ears, and so on. Thus he behaves like the most beautiful and charming young cowherd boy. So Krishna takes more pleasure to play ordinary human being than just showing his opulences of the Supreme Lord in front of his devotees.
And therefore, his pastimes are human-like pastimes.
Yes.
Because
Manushya Rupa. His form is human-like.
Yeah, because in these pastimes you can do more things. It requires more endeavor. There is more to be done, more to sacrifice. Otherwise, the demigod pastimes, demigods have mystic powers. So then there is less rasa, because rasa comes from endeavor, from duty, from sacrificing for others. In this way, when Krishna was taking lunch with his friends, and then they just noticed that the cows they went far away, they couldn't see them. Krishna, instead of summoning his mystic powers and just bringing
Bringing them.
But where is the rasa in this?
Think about the cows and the cows will come.
Or create new set of cows, or bring like more cows and even more cows and whatever. But where is the rasa in this? So instead, what did he do? He told all his friends, please, don't worry, take your lunch, and I will go and I will search for them. And he actually went just like a human being would go.
To look for them.
Yeah,
he
Krishna
doesn't know where are they. And
yeah, like he doesn't know, and he couldn't in the beginning. He couldn't find them. Well, he because Brahmas told them. He
it's
could
more
have
fun. It's
exactly. So our position as humans is very advantageous, because it is like just like a difference when you do worship of the deity with 16 upacharas. If you offer them with physical object or with mantra, and with water, or something like this. You could do both, but the first one has specific taste. You actually feel like you. It's not just a meditation. You actually physically do something.
Krishna's inconceivable potency may pose a challenge to certain nyasayas. For this reason, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur uses this verse as an opportunity to delineate between the realms of matter and spirit, between God and the Jiva, a source of confusion to the Mayavadi and materialists alike. Quote, for want of a taste of things spiritual, a grave doubt arises in the minds of those who are enchanted by worldly knowledge. On hearing a narration of the pastimes of Krishna, they think that the truth, tattva, regarding Krishna is the mental concoction of certain learned scholars, created by their imaginative brains out of material drawn from the mundane principles. With the object of removing these harmful doubts, Brahma, in these and the three following shlokas, after distinguishing between the two things, spirit and matter, in a rational manner, he has tried to make one understand the pure lila of Krishna, obtained by his unmixed ecstatic trance. Brahma wants to say that the form of Krishna is all existence, all knowledge, and all bliss, whereas all mundane experiences are full of palpable ignorance. The unwholesomeness of matter is its defect, but in the spirit there is variegatedness which is free from any fault or contamination. The soul and the body of Krishna are identical, whereas the body and the soul of fallen creatures are not so. In the spiritual sphere, there is no such difference as that between the body and soul, between the limbs and their proprietor, between the attributes and the object possessing them of this world. But such difference really exists in the case of the conditioned souls. Linked to Krishna is, his every limb is the whole entity. He performs all varieties of divine spiritual functions with every one of his limbs. Hence, he is an indivisible whole and a perfect transcendental entity. Brahma Samhita, purport 532. So again, the differences show between our form, the materially conditioned form, and the spiritual form of the Lord, and how he can do anything and everything whenever he likes, and we are acting under the laws of material nature, and we cannot do anything independently. With the time our eyes stop seeing, or our ears stop hearing, with the time we have to go to the toilet more often, with the time our digesting power is not so strong, just the body acts totally under the control of material nature, and we cannot do anything separately from the will of the Lord. And the body of Krishna is totally different. It's not under the influence of the matter, but rather it's under the influence of the spiritual laws, and there is no any limitations for the body of the Lord. He can do whatever he likes. So very, very important verse from Brahma Samhita. Angani yasya sakalendriya vriti manti. Each of his senses can do the job of all other senses. Pashyanti panti kalayanti chiram jaganti. And just by seeing, he can create, he can maintain, he can destroy the whole material world. And his form is Ananda Chinmaya Sat Ujvala Vigrahasya.
That's very important, because he can bestow mercy upon us just by hearing our Hare Krishna mantra.
Yes. Yes.
He doesn't need to do anything. Just, oh, he's chanting, this devotee is chanting sincerely. I want to reciprocate. And he will, if he wants to.
Yes, Srila Prabhupada is saying in one purport, no need the Lord to come and eat physically the food that we are offering him. Hearing your prayer that you want to offer him this food, accepting your words, is identical with
He's eating
the food. So the Lord hearing the devotional offering of a devotee, it's equal to eating the food.
Yeah.
No need physically to do it. But also Krishna, Srila Prabhupada is saying, sometimes Krishna, he eats the food physically, but then he puts it back on the plate. So for our eyes it looks like that, okay, the food is still there. But actually he ate it, really he ate. There are these stories which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was sending, I don't remember, some of his devotees to Nadia, to Mayapur, and he told this devotee, please go and offer my obeisances to my mother, and also tell her, I am coming every day to her house and I am eating whatever she is offering to me. She thinks I am not there, but actually I am there. I am coming every day to eat the food. And you can tell her this one example, and when she hears, she will understand that I am really going there, because nobody else knows this story. So Krishna is accepting whatever devotee has to offer. Text 33. Krishna's extraordinary powers. Advaitam, Achyutam, Anadim, Anantarupam, Adyam Purana Purusham Navayauvanam Cha, Vedeshu Durlabam, Adurlabam, Atma Bhaktau, Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship the Supreme Lord Govinda, who has no equal, who is infallible in protecting his devotees, Achyutam, who is the source of all others but expands into infinite forms, who is topmost, who exists before all others but is eternally youthful, and who is rarely attained by those studying the Vedas, but attained easily by his devotee. So in this verse, many different qualities and characteristics of the amazing body of Krishna are described. And actually the purport is quite long. Actually, Acharyas more or less explain each and every word one by one. They give lots of attention to this verse, so we are going to go through this moment. This verse is a prime illustration of the philosophy of Achintya Bheda, Abheda Tattva. The Lord expands unlimitedly, yet is complete. He is old, and yet he is young. To attain him is difficult, yet easy. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains, quote, "The sum and substance of it is that though he possesses diverse and apparently mutually contradictory qualities, still they are in universal harmonious concordance by dint of his unthinkable potency. This is what is meant by Chit Dharma, transcendental nature, as distinguished from the material." So that's a very important point, that there are no really contradictions between the seemingly contradictory qualities of the Lord. That means in him all contradictory qualities find
Reconciled.
Yes, they are reconciled.
There is verse from 6th canto which says, "Oh, my dear Lord, all contradictions are reconciled in you."
So basically, it doesn't matter how it looks from our material perspective. The truth of the matter is that there are no contradictions.
There is no contradiction. Because everything
Nature of the Lord.
originates from him. So it's only logical that when you trace back everything back to him, then there is no contradiction.
Yes. Nice. In the transcendental sphere, there is no distinction between the object and its qualities, and no such identity as is found in the limited mundane region. Hence, those qualities that seem to be apparently contradictory in the light of mundane conception, limited by time and space, exist in agreeable and dainty concordance in the spiritual realm. Brahma Samhita 5:33. Akin to the first verse of Sri Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Parama Krishna, each word of this shloka is significant and worthy of its own explanation. And we start with Advaita, the first word, Advaitam. The word Advaita can signify Krishna's complete wholeness, despite his unlimited expansion. Quote, "Advaita means indivisible truth, who is knowledge absolute. Brahman, the infinite, emanates from him as his effulgence, and God immanent, Paramatma, as his constituent. But nevertheless, he remains one and indivisible." Brahma Samhita 5:33.
Just like in Bhagavatam, same word. Tattvam advayam, advaita. Vedanti tattva vidas, tattvam yat jnanam.
Non-dual substance.
It's a non-dual substance. It's one.
Is described in different ways.
Yeah.
That's the seemingly contradictory nature.
But why it is described in different ways? Not because he needs to be described in different ways, but because Krishna wants to accommodate everyone as much as possible. And he does accommodate everybody. So there are people who like to see him only as Brahman. He accommodates them. He doesn't condemn them. Oh, you go to hell forever because you don't accept me as Bhagavan. No. If you're not offensive, if you don't offend the Lord, then you accept it. Okay, you're just Brahmavadi.
Yes.
You're a great sage. You can even go to Vaikuntha. And then, yeah. It's a manifestation of Krishna's mercy and desire to. Krishna's all-inclusiveness. Krishna is all-inclusive. Still, he has standards for pure devotional service because he is a pure devotee of his devotees. So if you want to be on this level, then you have to be pure devotee.
So in other words, he will reciprocate with each and every one, but he will reciprocate in different way, according to the surrender of the devotee, according to how much time and attention and energy we give to the Lord, he reciprocates accordingly.
And we do the same. If we are normal personalities, we do the same. We reciprocate with people around us accordingly. We respond to their mood, to their sincerity, to the endeavor that they put in developing a relationship with us. We reciprocate. So we cannot blame the Lord. He is, after all, the original person. All personal features that we possess, they come from Him.
They are emanations of His nature. Yes, very nice. Okay, Advaita. Okay, so we have quote from Srimad Bhagavatam. This is Krishna, who is understood by Achintya Beda Beda Tattva philosophy. Purnasya Purnam Adaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate. Krishna is always complete, and although he can create millions of universes, all of them full in no opulences, he remains as opulent as ever, without any change. Advaitam. This is explained by different Vaishnava acharyas through philosophies such as Vishuddhadvaita, Vishishtadvaita, and Dvaitadvaita. Therefore, one must learn about Krishna from the acharyas. Srimad Bhagavatam 10, 13, 19. According to the Vedic version, Ekam Bahoshyam, he can expand himself into many thousands and millions, but still remain one. In that sense, everything is spiritual because everything is an expansion of Krishna. That is, everything is an expansion either of Krishna himself or of his potency. Because the potency is non-different from the potent. The potency and the potent are one. Shakti Shakti Matayor Abeda. The Mayavadis, however, say Chit Achit Samanvaya, spirit and matter are one. This is a wrong conception. Srimad Bhagavatam 10, 13, 39 purport. So, Krishna is one with his energies as a spiritual substance, but he is not the same as his energies. Like we are part of Krishna, and from this perspective we are the same like Krishna, but we are not the same individuality, Krishna. Krishna is a different individuality, we are different individuality. In this way, Krishna has so many potencies and they are different individualities. But as a quality of the substance or the existence, they are on the same level, on the spiritual platform. So yeah, Advaita means
non-dual?
Non-dual in a sense that there is no difference between him and his body, Also, he's completely spiritual, he's complete, and although so many things appear from him, he does not decrease in any way. He is still the complete whole. Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate.
One without a second also.
Yes. And now a few other meanings of Advaitam will be explained. Advaitam also denotes the absolute non-difference between him and his form. A living entity forgets everything due to his change of body, but the Lord remembers because he does not change his Satchitananda body. He is Advaita, which means there is no distinction between his body and himself. Bhagavad Gita 4.5 purport. Advaitam also can mean unrivaled. Advaitam means that Govinda has no equal in the world, just as a king is incomparable to others. In what aspect is the Lord actually Advaita or incomparable? Taking the literal meaning, Krishna is incomparable in giving his own body to his devotees. Digdarshanitika 533. This is a little bit more esoteric meaning, how Krishna is incomparable, because nobody else can do this. Nobody can surrender the way how Krishna surrenders to his devotees. Nobody else can do this in the same way. So in this sense, he is incomparable. Nobody can do what he's doing. So okay, these were all explanations of the word Advaita. So Advaitam signifies Krishna's complete wholeness, that there is no difference between him and his form. He doesn't have equal in the world. He is the top. Incomparable. Krishna is incomparable in giving his own body to his devotees. Jiva Goswami is saying. So these were different meaning of Advaitam. Next word is Achyuta. Krishna is known as Achyuta. Why? Because he never fails to protect his devotees. The word Achyuta in some contexts mirrors the Advaita notion that Krishna remains the undivided whole or fullest perfection. It also signifies the Lord's infinite mercy. Kashikanda explains the word Achyutam. Quote, he is called Achyuta, all-pervading, indestructible, and supreme in all the worlds, because by his mercy, his devotees do not fall from their exalted positions, even at the time of destruction of the universe. So he will always take care of his devotees. Now, can we say that he alone remains and is thus called Achyuta? Vishnu alone remains after Pralaya? No. The actual meaning should be that he suffers no degradation by giving himself to his devotees. That is why he is called Achyuta. He does not ever fail to take pleasure in his devotees. Additionally, it conveys the sense of the Lord's utter infallibility. The Lord is described in Brahma Samhita as infallible, Achyuta, which means that he never forgets himself, even though he is in material contact. Therefore, the Lord and the living entity can never be equal in all respects. Even if the living entity is as liberated as Arjuna, although Arjuna is a devotee of the Lord, he sometimes forgets the nature of the Lord. Bhagavad Gita 4.5 purport. So, again, different meanings of Achyutam. It can have the same meaning as Advaitam, undivided whole, or it may mean by his mercy his devotees do not fall from their exalted positions, even at the time of destruction of the universe. So Krishna will, that's another meaning, Krishna will never become bored from his devotees. That's actually his greatest pleasure in life, to exchange loving pastimes with his devotees. There is nothing higher for him. And he never forgets himself, even though he is in material contact. So these are different meanings of the word achyuta. Then anadim. The standard definition of anadi, beginningless, is reconciled with Krishna's apparent birth in the material world. So as someone may say, wait a minute, how he is anadi without beginning when he was born from Devaki? How it is that he is anadi? Quote, anadi means without beginning. It refers to he who is the final cause of all other things and is without cause, being self-revealing. Though he indulges in exhibiting the pastimes of births, etc., still he is without a beginning. Though without origin, yet he is with an origin in his pastime of appearance. Digdarshani Tika 533. So again, this apparently contradictory nature of the Lord. He is anadi, without a beginning. Actually, he is the beginning of everything else. And at the same time, it looks like that he is appearing or disappearing also. In Bhagavatam is described the disappearance of the Lord. That's why Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, Janma karma chame divyam evam veti tatvataha tyaktva deha punar janma naiti mamiti so Arjuna. If someone actually understands the deep meaning, the esoteric meaning of my appearance and activities, this person will go back to the spiritual
Tattva,
world.
the true meaning.
The real meaning. Because it looks like in a certain way, but actually, what is the real meaning? That's the point. If someone managed to understand this, how Krishna apparently appears, but he does not, he's not born, and how he apparently, it looks like he's killed and he leaves this world, but actually this is not a fact. If someone understands actually, in reality, the pastimes of the Lord, he becomes qualified to go back to the spiritual world. This term also signifies that the Lord's form is not the product of someone's imagination. It is important to note in this regard that the word Abhimata Murti, meaning one's most desirable form, does not indicate that one may concoct a form of the Lord by one's own whim. Advaitam, Achyutam, Anadim, Anantarupam. All the forms of the Supreme Lord are anadi, or eternal. Thus, there is no question of concocting a form, because such a concoction would be adi, or the origin of the concocted form. So that's very interesting. If we, on the basis of our speculation, decide to create a form of the Lord in our mind, and we may say, but this is someone gave it to me, I had a vision,
A revelation.
and this is the Lord, and this is the form of the Lord. But wait a minute, if it's created from your material mind, that means it has a beginning, it has a cause. Your material mind is the cause of this form. So then how it is anadi? So it's contradiction. All the forms of the Lord, although they are unlimited, all of them are anadi, without material origin. Nothing in the material world is the cause for the forms of the Lord. Neither our mind, nor intelligence, nor senses. We cannot create the form of the Lord. They are anadi. So anadi means without beginning, the final cause of all other things. And also this word shows that the Lord's form is not the product of someone's imagination. It's eternal form. Otherwise, this form cannot be called otherwise the form is Adi. It's not Anadi. Every material form is known as Adi. And the last thing we are going to go today, Ananta Rupam, unlimited forms. The basic definition of Ananta Rupam is given by Srila Prabhupada as follows. Although there are many transcendental forms of the Lord, they are still one and the same Supreme Personality of Godhead. One has to understand this fact with conviction, although it is incomprehensible to mundane scholars and empiric philosophers. So we have a note here, note 20. A proper understanding of this concept of Ananta Rupam is essential in order to avoid committing offenses. Quote, sometimes foolish people ask whether when we chant Rama in the Hare Krishna mantra we refer to Lord Ramachandra or Lord Balaram. If a devotee says that the name Rama in the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra refers to Balaram, a foolish person may become angry because to him the name Rama refers to Lord Ramachandra. Actually, there is no difference between Balaram and Lord Ram, for there is no difference between them. However, it is offensive to think that Balaram is superior to Lord Ramachandra or vice versa. Neophyte devotees do not understand this Shastric conclusion, and consequently, they unnecessarily create an offensive situation. In text 154, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu clarified this in a very lucid way. Ishvaratve Veda Manile Haya Aparada. It is offensive for one to differentiate between the forms of the Lord. On the other hand, one should not think that the forms of the Lord are the same as the forms of the demigods. This is certainly offensive. CC Madhya 955 purport. So, although the Lord has many forms, they have the same spiritual quality. So, no need. We cannot differentiate between them. This will be offense. But at the same time, we have to differentiate between the forms of the Lord and the forms of the demigods. Yes? Besides the standard meaning of unlimited forms, it has alternative renderings. Quote, Ananta Rupa can mean he enters the material world unlimitedly to help the jivas. Or Ananta Rupa can mean that he has a spiritual form which is unlimited by material standards, from a portion of which arises all qualities such as unlimitedness. Digdarshani Tika 533. Srila Prabhupada glorifies Krishna's unlimited bodily varieties in relation to the pastime of Krishna rescuing the princesses kidnapped by Narakasura. All those princesses were lodged in different apartments, and the Lord simultaneously assumed different bodily expansions, exactly matching each and every princess. He accepted their hands in perfect rituals by his internal potency. Srimad Bhagavatam 3.3.8. The Vaibhava Vilas forms of the Lord, affected by his internal potency, Yoga Maya, were all slightly different, just to match each and every one of them. Srimad Bhagavatam 3.3.8 purport. The notion of Ananta Rupam, according to Srila Prabhupada, also refers to temple deities. In India, there are many thousands of temples, and within these temples, there are Archa Vigrahas, deities. All these Krishnas are non-different. They are one. Krishna resides in Vaikuntha and also in the temple. The Krishna are not different. Although they are Ananta, unlimited. Teachings of Lord Kapila, Devahuti, desires transcendental knowledge. So the point was made that this famous pastime, when Krishna was marrying for all these 16,100 princesses, and because their bodily features were slightly different, and Krishna, in order to perfectly match each and every princess, he slightly changed his form. So let's say if the form of the princess was taller, Krishna's form was taller, and if she was shorter, Krishna's form was getting
also of temperament, of mood.
Okay. Krishna
Subtle
appear
also.
in a mood that will
to match the mood of the princess.
Yes.
Pure.
Nice. I also remember something interesting from Bhagavatam about this pastime when Krishna was getting married, because part of the ceremony is the parents should be present also. So the parents of Krishna also expanded in so many forms to be able to be present at the same time on each and every marriage ceremony.
Yeah.
So not only Krishna can manifest Ananta Rupam, unlimited forms, but his devotees from the spiritual world, they can also do the same. So okay, Ananta Rupa means unlimited forms, but also alternative meanings are he enters the material world unlimitedly to help the living entities. Because Krishna appears through so many incarnations again and again and again and again. And he has a spiritual form which is unlimited by material standards. And Krishna's unlimited bodily varieties in relation, saving the process, yes, we spoke about this. Krishna matching the princesses, and also he appears in so many unlimited forms as Archa Vigraha, as Murti in the temples. So these are different ways to understand this description, that the form of Krishna is Ananta Rupam. Okay, so next time we will continue with Adyam, another description of the amazing form of the Lord. Om Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Tagore Premanandi.